What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Valentine's Day review, and today we're going to be talking about what I think is pound for pound the best romance film of all time, as of right now, of course, because, films evolve. Marriage Story. I'm just going to come out and say it. Marriage Story is one of the greatest movies I've seen of all time. It's not this big, loud movie that does all these fancy things with CGI or has this big, ambiguous plot. It's a quiet film that reaches unreal heights due to the writing, performances, and themes. Marriage Story is a damn near perfect representation of love. What it is, how to understand it, and the obstacles you can face while in it. The film targets the hard truth about being in love, and more so divorce, really putting a stamp on the trials and tribulations that come, while beating all the cliche narratives by substituting it with the harsh reality. This is a complex film, maybe not so much like Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, but complex in its own right, not just by what happens to the people involved, but also the people around them and how it can divide people, along with the mental strain it takes, and also the financial struggle that comes along with it as well. Marriage Story doesn't even really feel like a movie at times, more so an up-close version of real events from a real family, and it works seamlessly due to it feeling so real and so genuine. Noah Baumbach, I think that's how you say his name anyways, does a fantastic job building and adding on to these subtle yet high-tension scenes in such a brilliant way where you get to see these pieces just slowly start to crumble and how both parties react to said emotions and actions going on, leaving the audience in absolute awe. Although this film is 2 hours and change long, it moves at such a brisk pace where there's zero dry spells because the film just keeps adding on to these engaging layers to the point where I could have easily watched another hour and not been bored, and a lot of credit goes to how the scenes were selected being immaculately crafted. Now, the story is phenomenal as it is, but the film wouldn't be as well received as it is if it wasn't for the performances put on by everyone involved, especially Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. Both ScarJo and Adam Driver put on career-topping performances in this one, where their deliveries were so full of emotion with tremendous body language and mannerisms, but not to the point where it's overbearing or oversaturated, more so being received as genuine, where you can tell they were actually fighting back real tears. Absolutely cinematic. Although it's not the main focal point of the overall plot, I really appreciate how they start the film with explaining in heavy detail what they like about each other. Right from the opening frame, it really drives home their commendable qualities to really set the tone for these characters, where the film continues to beautifully flesh them out so you can understand both of their sides. This portion of the film goes on for a bit of time, and not once do they mention anything about looks, so it throws that stereotype idea right out the window to ensure that this is something more than a shallow romance film. But little did we know, this is not only to establish our two leads, but also to set up this crazy tone switch, bringing you on this magnificent roller coaster ride. Another thing that I really appreciate about the character work and how they were written is that it doesn't separate the audience by unintentionally making you pick sides, which a lot of romance films can do. That automatically gets brownie points for me, because especially in a divorce film, it almost inevitably makes you want to pick sides, but Baumbach does an amazing job giving you endless reasons to support both leads and really just hope the best for them. Again, yes, this is a divorce film, but under the surface, it's not about two people at war hating each other and just wanting to separate, because when they are apart, they always talk well about one another, and simply just wanted to make this process as peaceful as possible while trying to do what's best for their son, which is an incredible message. But on the flip side, there was still great conflicts being circled around the plot, and a lot of that comes from the outside sources. And I also found that to be a great piece, because a good portion of the time, a lot of the conflict in real situations like that comes from the outside noise. Individually, Johansson's character is like a silent tornado, if you will. She has so much going on where she's grounded yet guarded while having a lot of closeted emotions bottled up and also being vulnerable as well, which made for an extremely accurate representation of a divorced mother. She didn't really have this crazy arc, but her character was very consistent with the addition of a twist that arises that brings out another level of her, and it works extremely well. As far as Adam Driver, you can't help but feel for him and his pain. Emphasis on pain. Right when the news is broke to him, you can slowly see and feel him breaking as the days go on, where his pain and suffering just builds and builds until he hits that breaking point, which to me is one of the best pieces of cinema I've ever seen, come the argument scene as we all know it by now. It's not that he was this piece of shit dad, but he's still a flawed character that, although clearly cares for his family, cares about his career as well, very, very much, where he struggles to balance the two at times and makes some mistakes along the way. But you can tell he's a genuine good man and a good dad, so he's so easy to root for and get invested in. As for the side characters, they were also great. They got a pretty fair amount of screen time, being ScarJo's friends and also the lawyers, where they help take some pressure off of our leads and also really carry some significant weight as well, especially the lawyers. The main two lawyers in Laura Dern and Ray Liotta are awesome. They are essentially the same style of character, but one's a male and one's a female. Although they're trying to help aid the situation, they actually put a lot more stress and conflict into the situation, which brought into some of the best moments of the film and where the film really takes off. When it comes to the screenplay, it was just amazing. Marriage Story was so well written, being very rich, witty, and fresh, having countless pieces of sophisticated dialogue. Now, if I want to see my mom and dad argue or just family banter in general, I would just start a debate about the Red Sox versus the Yankees at the dinner table, but these style of conversations and arguments were elevated to amazing levels. Baumbach does a fantastic job fleshing out these relatable tones and pieces of emotion extremely well, where, in my eyes, he kind of took a gamble on including a couple of prolonged monologues and dialogues, but it paid off extremely well, will help you get connected to these characters, while including a couple of sequences that can really send chills down your entire body. Although this is not a rom-com, he also sorted in a couple of subtle bits of humor as well, and every time he had to go at it, it worked for me and I was pleasantly surprised. Now I know I've glazed Baumbach quite enough already, but I need to mention one last piece, and that's his style and his direction. As mentioned, this is a fairly quiet film, where there wasn't these miraculous sets or set pieces, but he knew how to make the most out of every scene, and a lot of that was due to the camera work. There are so many tremendous shots in this film due to the camera always being in the right spot at all times. It's super commendable how he knew how to get the most emotions out of every shot selected, with how some of the shots show how separated they actually are, like sitting and standing on opposite sides of the train, or taking wide shots of the characters interacting with one another, or just the simplicity of some of the close-up shots to really enhance the emotions in specific scenes. Overall, for once, I really have no complaints. I believe this film started perfectly, built into things perfectly, and ended in the best way possible, showing that no matter what happens, you'll always love each other and everything will be okay. Marriage Story gets a 10 out of 10 from me. And honestly, I think this might be my first 10 out of 10, so fair play. Let me know what you think of Marriage Story in the comments below, and let me know what film you'd like to see me review next. See you guys in the next one.